Welcome into episode 41 of Ramie and Drew live on Saturday, April 6th, coming to you on a Saturday. I think Saturdays have become and are becoming a norm for us, Drew, because our schedules just aren't lining up during the week. We believe it or not, I do work. I do have a job, and Drew has a real job, like a full-time job. So it's hard. Like our schedules have just not been jiving, and it's been like 4 days since we've spoken, correct? I mean, on the podcast.
Last, because we didn't do one since Wednesday.
Tuesday.
When we lost to the Grizzlies, we didn't get to talk about that.
Dude, yeah, let's get right into that. There's a lot to talk. You're going to the Brewers game today, huh? We're gonna talk some Brewers later. You're headed to the Brewers game, right?
Yeah, I'm going with Gary.
That's
he's been on the show. It's not like a made up person.
I'm just checking real quick because I must have missed that invite to go to the game with my two good friends, Drew and Gary. Nope, that just didn't happen. That just didn't happen. All right, let's get into let's get into some Bucks talk then. And yeah, man, this is Drew. I'm still hanging on to this thread, but man, is this just a thread now that I think they have guys that can flip the switch come playoff time. I'd like to see some good basketball before then, but I'm really trying hard not to panic, Drew. But there are some alarming things happening in this stretch where they've lost, 4 of their last 5 now? Is that right? 4 of their last 5? Do I have that correct?
Is it 5 of 6 now?
I'll pull it up just to make sure.
I don't care about the games that came before this, because the last game we won was Atlanta. That was last Saturday. That was a week ago. And Atlanta was probably the toughest of these 4 teams that were not playoff bound.
Yeah. Remember we looked at the schedule and we were like, they have 4 games that they should easily be able to win and get a little fat on. They've lost 3 of them already.
So the first 2 games, I didn't even see what points in the paint were. I honestly turned the game off the second that game hit zeros. Last night, I was like, I'm not going to listen. The best thing to me was that people that are directly involved with the Bucks, like Lisa Byington, she sounded pissed off when they lost last night. I was like, thank you, because I was like, you're not going to sit here and be like, oh well, hard lessons learned, because they didn't learn.
No,
they did not learn lessons.
They actually they won the points in the paint battle last night. I just pulled it up while you were talking, 46-40. But that's one of the few battles that they won. Once again, offensive rebounds were a problem. They gave up 9 of those, and those lead to second chance opportunities. They were, let me see what else they had here. They got to the free throw line 15 times less than the Raptors, Drew, which that's becoming an issue. And I was listening to, I didn't get a chance to listen or watch last night's game. I was at work, but I was listening to the loss previous to that against the Grizzlies on the radio call. And the issue, Drew, is things that the Bucks, even when things weren't going well, they still did well. They got to the free throw line quite a bit. They won the rebound battle more times than not. They won clutch games. They were one of the best clutch teams in the NBA, and they're 1-5 in their last 8 games that have come down to 5 points or less in the last 5 minutes. Like they're not doing things well that they've done well all season, even when things weren't going great.
Well, so I do think as the season has gone on, I've constantly said I'm not going to be a blame the refs guy. When they've specifically said that Damian Lillard was a focus on that, what is and isn't a shooting foul, Dame gets no calls. I'm sorry, that guy is getting hacked. If he's going into a shooting motion, it's always on the ground. It's always on the ground. It's always on the ground. It's ridiculous, because Trae Young, when he's healthy, if he's ever going to be healthy again, Trae Young got those calls all year long. Fucking, what was his name? Gigi Jackson was getting that call for the Grizzlies. Dame didn't play in that game, but these guys, there are guys who are not nearly as good as Steph Curry and Damian Lillard, and those 2 guys aren't getting those goddamn calls, but you got scrubs, and I'm going to call the Grizzlies scrubs, because every team, you're like, these guys, like the Washington Wizards, they got guys on that roster that are NBA players. They've been in the NBA. Some of them have been on championship rosters, and they got traded off and everything like that. There are guys out of necessity for the Grizzlies to continue playing games that are there. There are guys who do not belong in the NBA on that team, and they're getting balls that Damian Lillard doesn't get. It's absolutely ridiculous. The only times consistently that I see the Bucks going to the free throw line are when Giannis and Brook are in the paint and they're actually driving. That's it. Because you have to actually hold Brook Lopez down so he can jump for someone to get a call. Because these guys don't get shooting fouls. Malik Beasley doesn't have a pump fake, it turns out. There have been so many glaring problems with this Bucks team that if Chris, Dame, and Giannis in the playoffs, if they're not going to score 80 to 90 points, we're not going to win a game. There's a very real possibility that there is an absolute just brawl through the first. Like, we could go to 7 games in the first round against Indiana, against Miami. Miami's going to play you tough. And guess what? The way I'm going right now, I think Terry Rozier goes to the free throw line more than Dame Lillard in that goddamn series. Scary Terry Rozier is going to go. He's going to shoot more free throws than Damian Lillard, because that Lakers game, they shot 1 million free throws in the second half. The Bucks shot like none.
But do you think that the officials changed the way they're officiating the Bucks midway through the season? Because they were getting to the free throw line a lot earlier in the season. Again, that's one of the few things that they consistently did well, even when they were losing games under Adrian Griffin.
I think consistently. No, again, last night Giannis didn't play. It's the only way to stop Giannis is to foul him at this point. Dame.
I just spilled water all over myself, but I'm going to be a professional and just keep going. Keep going.
I thought Dame was fine last night. I thought Middleton was fine last night. The supporting cast on this team, like outside of the free throw line, I think there are so many glaring issues right now with this team that I'm like, the season will iron it out. I don't know what Doc can do to get these guys going, because there ain't one player on that team outside of our big 3 that can create their own goddamn shot. Pat Connaughton cannot pull up and shoot a 15-foot jump shot. Bobby Portis can. Okay, I should say maybe outside of Portis, but that's only at home. And if the Bucks keep playing this way, we're not going to have the first 2 games at home.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that. And by the way, I was looking at the original question. I forgot for a second. Don't you hate that when you go to your phone to look for something and then you get completely distracted by something else and forget what you originally went to your phone for? We were wondering if they lost 4 of their last 5 or 5 of their last 6. It's 4 of their last 5. They had back-to-back wins against, let me see here. Well, they lost the last 3 against Toronto, the Grizzlies, and the Wizards. Then they beat the Sixers before that. They lost to the Kings. They had back-to-back wins against the Lakers and against the Clippers previous to those 5 games. So they had won 3.
Lost both our games to the Lakers.
Oh, shoot. You're right. Yeah, I was looking at that backwards. So, but
And
still,
we
it's 4 of the last 5. And if you want to go back further, it's 6 of the last 8 games that they've lost. So it's not been good. And like I said, Drew, we looked at the schedule when there was, I think, 9 games left, and we were like, hey man, there are some tough matchups and some matchups that are going to be really crucial to the standings and the seeding in the Eastern Conference at the end of the day. This was after the Pelicans game, and we were like, but they got the Hawks, they got the Wizards, the Grizzlies, and the Raptors before things get a little tough. They lost all those games, or no, they lost 3 of those 4 games. That you can't do. You can't do that when you're at the point of the season that you're at right now. And miraculously, somehow, despite all that, apparently no one in the Eastern Conference wants the 2 seed, because they remain 1 game ahead of Cleveland, and 2 games. 2 games ahead of both Orlando and New York right now for the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference.
So Cleveland plays the Lakers today. Donovan Mitchell, he's wearing the face mask right now. He's kind of afraid of contact. Donovan Mitchell, bet the lower if you're betting on him. I don't think the Lakers need to get out of that play-in. I think that the Lakers are probably going to win this game today. I actually, after the Bucks game on Wednesday, I was so pissed off. I actually stayed up and watched the Cleveland against the Suns. and I was rooting heavy for the Suns. I was like, I just need other people to do our dirty work now. But unfortunately, the Bucks, they got to go play the Knicks tomorrow.
Yeah. I was
What
just
are you gonna
about to
do?
jump back. I was just about to jump back to the schedule and point that out. Coming up, you got the Knicks, the Celtics, the Magic, the Thunder, and the Magic again. That's to close out the season.
The most winnable game in this, honestly, is going to be the Celtics game, because here's what I think. Unless Joe Mazzulla absolutely is cutthroat, I think they play their starters for the first half and they sit everybody and say, punt this game, who cares? Now, if Joe Mazzulla actually wants to be cutthroat in this game and snap our backs, I think they can do it. I think that they can absolutely blow us out on our home court, because this team is reeling right now. Giannis and Dame need to win these games. It's like if they can shut down, if Drew Holiday can stick to Damian Lillard and just take away shots,
I don't know if I'd say need. I don't know if I'd say need to win, but I think I'm going to keep on hanging on to that thread of belief, Drew, that these guys either are good enough when you're talking about a Giannis, a Dame, a Chris, or just have they're just good enough, or they have enough championship pedigree. If they've been if they were on the team that won that championship a few years ago, that the switch can be flipped on come playoff time, even if the closing stretch is rocky. I think they can flip the switch on. That being said, I'd like to see some good basketball
on those three. I'm not gonna ever rule out Dame, Giannis, and Chris Middleton as a trio. For everybody else, and this includes Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez was a guy all year long. I was like, man, B+, A-. Like, that's what I thought he brought to the team. He is at a C right now with his fucking defense. And the fact that Brook Lopez, that Doc told him stop relying on those deep three balls. Now he's got to get his ass in the paint. Here's what I think. I think that that's a good strategy if Brook Lopez is 30 years old, but he's 35. And now what's happening is it looks like Brook is exerting so much energy in the paint and getting hammered over and over again and having to go to the free throw line. He can't play in the fourth quarter. There's he has no legs. He's not playing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think taking the three out of Brook's game is not a great strategy.
This is terrible. I mean, because then no one can stay in front of anybody. You got Malik Beasley iced almost the entire second half of the game last night, and the only reason he ended up in the game is because Ashley Moyer, or whatever the hell her name is, she called a 6th foul on Damian Lillard that was ticky-tack horse shit. Because there were 3 other ticky-tack horseshit fouls. And Middleton had to, walk on thin ice, too, because he had 5 fouls. It's like, I don't want to blame the refs, but it's like, what do you do?
There has been some questionable officiating.
You know what I want to see? This is honestly what I want out of the Bucks. You got a road game or something coming up against Orlando. I don't care who it is on that team. I don't care who in Oklahoma City it is. Bobby Portis, put someone on the ground. I want an Oscar Robertson style. I want a Detroit, because here's the thing. This Bucks team has they are walking with their heads down. And if the Celtics want to be
Cobra Kai, what are you going to say? Put them in a body bag? What do you mean? Put somebody on the ground.
If you want to snap our backs, the Celtics can do it. So you know what you do? You go out there and show that this team's got a little bit of fight, and go pick up a flagrant. Somebody do it. Somebody Grayson Allen, somebody. Because right now, the Bucks look like a box of kittens.
I don't think you have to hurt anybody. I don't think you have to get a flagrant.
No. You come through Chet Holmgren, you come through the paint. Guess what? Your ass is touching wood. That's what's going to happen. I'm not saying.
I think the guy for that is, I don't know, Thanasis or somebody off the back of the bench. Somebody who's, you don't need anybody getting suspended before the playoffs for putting somebody in a body bag,
No, you get ejected or something. That's fine like that. But you know what, Brook Lopez? Fucking, I don't know. Put someone on the ground. I'm not saying headhunt. I'm not saying go out there and choke slam somebody. I'm not saying do something stupid. I'm not saying throw a punch. But you know what? Someone goes into the paint, then you show them why it's called the restricted area. You don't come in there. Enough of this. The Bucks have been soft. Doc Rivers said it was out here. No one fears the deer. I think for a little bit, teams were a little bit like when Doc's defense was pretty good, but now it's terrible. No one's afraid of them. So you know what? Anybody outside of our big 3, I implore you, knock someone's ass to the goddamn ground.
Yeah, they're not scared to come inside. I think Ryan Rollins is the guy for that. That's the dude who you put in there to get that job done. Or I don't know.
Seth Rollins?
Uh,
Wrestling? Are you talking
I
about
don't know.
wrestling?
I don't know. I just found this guy. He's on the back end of the Bucks bench. This guy is on the roster.
No, because you want them to be afraid of the players that are actually.
I'm glad you don't know either. I was like, how do I not know this guy? Chris Livingston is on the back of the Bucks bench too. Apparently, he's employed by the Bucks.
A end guy. I don't want somebody that's sitting deep in the bench because you might as well have Prunty go stick a leg out there and trip somebody then.
I'd actually like to see that. I dig that. But I'm good with that.
And this is I called these last 3 games moronic. Okay, so you lose to Washington, whatever. You know, that's fine. You lose to a team, you learn, you hustle, you buckle down, you study, you know, you get all ready for the test the next day against the Grizzlies, who got a bunch of nobodies on that team. And then you know what you do? You sleepwalk through that one.
But it really is a miracle, Drew. Like I said, when we talked about the easy stretch of like the closing portion of the schedule, and they've lost 3 out of the 4 of those, it's really kind of amazing because I haven't looked at the standings. I've been busy the last few days. I haven't been following the scoreboard that closely. So to look down at the standings today before we did the show and go, oh wow, they're pretty much right where they were before they lost 3 of the last 4 games. They got to feel really fortunate about that, man. But at the same time, these teams that are right behind you are on your schedule here to close out. Like nobody's going to do your dirty work for you. Well, you don't have Cleveland, but you have 2 against Orlando. They're 2 games behind you. You have 1 against New York. They're 2 games behind you. You're going to have to do your own dirty work to hang on to the 2 seed here. And I don't know if they were, playing down to competition. We do have to be fair. There was one of the games where Chris and Dame didn't play, and then Giannis didn't play in a game as well. Like that factors into all of this. But even that being said, those are not teams you should lose to. Even when you're not healthy, those are not teams that you should lose to. The Grizzlies, like you said, have been ravaged by injuries. That's still not a roster that you should lose to, even when you are shorthanded. So if they are healthy down the stretch here, they're going to have to do their own dirty work if they plan on hanging on to that 2 seed, which, as we've talked about, is something you want to do.
You're like I said, the most winnable game in this last week and a half of basketball for the Bucks going into the playoffs is the Celtics game, because I doubt that team really wants to play their players 35 minutes. I highly doubt that. But the Bucks now, you have to play everybody. You don't get to take games off anymore.
Let me ask you this.
Doc said with Giannis's little hamstring thing that he's got going on, his hamstring tendinopathy now, or whatever they're calling it, man, they were like, if it's a playoff game, he would have played. Okay, well, now you got to consider tomorrow's a playoff game. You got to consider Orlando's a playoff game. And Orlando, again, is a playoff game. You have to beat these teams. And so the West is so tightly contested that Oklahoma City is going to come out and try to punch you in the mouth. Also.
Yeah, they're going to be playing for something too. Let's play it. Let's play. Well, would you rather? Nothing gross or weird, but would you rather either Miami or Philadelphia in the first round, Miami. Or would you rather Indiana in the first? Because right now the 7 and the 8 seed is Miami and Philadelphia. So the winner of that play-in game. The way that the play-in tournament works, for those who don't know, 7 plays 8, winner moves on. They get the 7 seed. The loser of that game plays the winner of the 9-10 game, and then the winner of that game gets the 8 seed. So with the Bucks being in the 2 seed right now, the first round matchup would be either Miami or Philadelphia, or if they fell down to 3, the matchup would be Indiana, as the standings currently sit right now. Which of those 3 teams do you want in the first round?
With free throw discrepancy, I do not want to face Joel Embiid. Embiid is going to
so maybe falling out of the 2 seed is not the worst thing in the world.
I do not want to face Joel Embiid in the first round. I would rather take Jimmy Buckets. I know Bucks fans got a lot of trauma about Jimmy Butler, but this is where the players, this isn't like an Adrian Griffin thing. This is where the players go. Giannis has to go to Doc and say, I play defense on Jimmy Butler. This is how we won in 21. I play defense, not anybody else. Not Malik Beasley, not Chris Middleton. Middleton, you can go take one of the white guys on that team. I don't give a shit. Okay. Also, playoff time coming up. Jay Crowder, put him in the 2. I don't care. I'm Malik Beasley. I praised his defense for so long after Doc got here. Terrible on defense again. He can't keep anybody in front of him. And now he can't shoot threes. You are useless to me right now. This is me being pissed off at my team, but he is a bench player again. Bye.
But my question ultimately boils down to, would you rather just avoid the possibility of Miami or Philadelphia in the first round altogether and just slide down into the 3 seed and get Indiana?
I would be fine with Indiana also. I'm not afraid of Indiana either. I know maybe I'm crazy, and Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard took his soul at All-Star Weekend. That guy can't score anymore. He's terrible. Siakam gave that team a whole new little lift and everything, but they don't got Buddy Hield anymore. That was a dumb trade. So I'm totally fine with playing Indiana. Like I would prefer that we get I want the 2 seed out of getting to start the first 2 rounds at home. That's what I want. Because unfortunately, Bobby Portis cannot play on the road. He has proven over the course of this entire season, he is not the same man on the road. He does not embrace the boos the way he embraces the cheers. He will not. I don't know what it is about him. I think Bobby's a great guy. I think that he's a really talented basketball player, but I think that guy likes to be the hero and not the villain. I think he likes to be the hero.
That's possible.
Yeah, Scott.
I can keep talking when I put the comments.
I can see that being. I could absolutely see the Bucks going to a 7-game series. I could see us also losing in 5 again, like we did last time, because of how
Scott T says that people are listening on the audio format, so we got to read it. We got to read the comment out loud. Scott T says, "I can see this team making a Eastern Conference run or get throttled in the first round. It's been a wild year." And yeah, man, that's 100% accurate. That this could go either way, because like I said, they do have some obviously star power. They have some pedigree to where that switch could be flipped. And like I said, I'm still hanging on to that thread, but there's also the possibility that they keep being this up and down team. Do you remember coming out of the All-Star break, how good this team looked for like an 8-10 game stretch? And we were like, this is it. Everything's clicking. Everything's moving. When they're that good, they can win a 7-game series against anybody. And now they're losing against the bottom feeders of the NBA.
I think that these games, there's cause for concern about, and I'm sure the motivation will ratchet up. The same thing we said about Dame Lillard all year when people have brought up, is this the same guy? And I was like, yeah, but when it comes down to the highest level of competition, I think that he'll step it up. The Bucks, unfortunately, outside of Lillard, Giannis, and Chris Middleton, they have taken off so many games that now this should have been the time of the year where you would have to play balls out maybe on your home court against Orlando, and then you go there and whatever, you drop one, no big deal, or something like that to end the series, or the end season. Sorry, Gary just texted me and I got thrown off. There was all of that happening. That should have been fine. Like, I would have been okay with that. Now they're in a must-win situation for the last 5 games of the season. That's how bad the bench and the supporting cast around our big 3 has been. There is no world that you would tell me that if coming into the season that, okay, you don't have Dame Lillard and you don't have Giannis or whatever for a game against the Grizzlies. Or no, we had Giannis against the Grizzlies. So you got Giannis against the Grizzlies. That should be enough to beat the Grizzlies.
It should. That's what I'm saying. Like even shorthanded, you should be able to beat these teams that
no Marcus
just lost.
Smart. They don't have anybody.
Dude, they don't have John Morant. They don't. You know what I mean? Like they don't have most of the top end of their roster short of Jaren Jackson Jr.
Steven Adams blew out his ACL to start the season, and then they traded him. You didn't even have their center anymore.
They don't even have their injured center anymore. It really is. Hey, I do want to bring up the Brewers before we wrap this up, but I don't know if you give a shit. I don't know if you give a shit or not. But you were talking about like sketchy officiating. Did you see what happened in the women's Final Four last night that everybody is talking about today?
Are you going to talk about the high screen that LeBron James doesn't agree with because he fucking does it at the NBA level? That was a foul. That was an offensive foul. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Listen, people might not want to sit here. They might want to hate on Caitlin Clark. Oh, they don't like Caitlin Clark. She's entitled. Caitlin Clark is phenomenal, first of all. And honestly, I'll say this. Watching Gabby Mitchell and Kate, what was her name? Kate Martin. Those two were running a really nice dribble handoff at the top of the key. And Caitlin Clark wasn't even involved in those plays. Kate Martin looked unstoppable in the paint. She had a little Chris Middleton shimmy going to her. She would drive in, she would turn her back to somebody, she would feel the contact, turn around, little fadeaway jumper. I really was having a lot more fun watching Gabby Mitchell and Kate Martin play and close out that game.
Then you were the Bucks a couple nights or last night? Was that?
Oh, absolutely. I texted my the whip so much better than watching the goddamn Bucks piss me off.
I personally
I'm low-key, I mean, okay, because like whatever people think about Caitlin Clark, you know, if they think she's a whiner, they think she's a complainer, I don't care. I think she's incredible what she's doing. That's, you set a college record like that. That's not like setting an NBA record where you can play.
Yeah, I don't think there's any denying the greatness of what she's doing or how impressive it is.
There are people that want to call her overrated and they hate on her and stuff. But no, like I was actually very invested in that game. And I don't know, maybe I know that a lot of our friends are like my girlfriend's an Iowa State fan. I know that our friend AJ is an Iowa State fan. But like just for all of our Iowa friends, like they were all pretty invested in that game. And so I was like, yeah, I've been actually having a lot of fun watching Caitlin Clark's last dance. I'm
going to be honest.
For them tomorrow.
I don't care. I don't care about college sports just in general. So this isn't like, oh, it's women's sports. I don't care about college sports. It's not my jam. All right. It's not my jammy jam. It's just not my thing. I prefer the professionals and whatever sports I do choose to watch. But the reason that I even brought this up, because normally, Drew, like we won't even stuff that like everybody's talking about. If we don't care about it, we just don't talk about it. It's the Ramie and Drew show, and it's what's interesting and compelling to us, and we try and make it interesting and compelling to you. Please follow, subscribe, like, rate, review, and tell a friend at YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. But the reason I bring it up is not that I care about the outcome of that game or this tournament. I don't. I do appreciate what Caitlin Clark is doing. I see the highlights. I know the numbers. And it's impressive and it's pretty cool. But sure, the reason I bring it up is because the discussion that's happening around that call and one side of that discussion, of that argument, is one of the dumbest things that you consistently hear in sports, and that I will always rally against whenever it comes up, even if it's a sport I don't care about. And it's this thing of you have to swallow the whistle in the last, I don't know. And I don't even, the reason I don't like it is exactly. It would be a foul in the first minute and it's a foul in the 40th minute, man. What do we, and how first and I hate unwritten rules, Drew. It's one of the things I hate about baseball, that there are so many of them and we're constantly finding out new ones. My question is, when do they start swallowing the whistles and how far does it go? Can you just punch somebody in the throat and they have to swallow the whistle? Like, is it just, is it the purge in the final 90 seconds of a basketball game? What are we talking about? A foul is a fucking foul, and that was a foul.
It was an offensive. It was an illegal screen.
Yes.
They showed her hands were like cupped like this, and she used her elbow and her leg to move in. That wasn't. Yeah, because like Caitlin Clark wasn't even the one that got screened on. That was Gabby Mitchell, wasn't it? I don't think it was.
I don't know. I only saw the highlight. I was at work, so I wasn't like watching, and I just saw the highlight on Twitter, and I saw it slowed down, and it's clearly a foul.
I remember the call, and all I remember was specifically because it wasn't Caitlin Clark, because like Gabby Mitchell's number 24, I think, on their team, and she was at the scorer's table, all pumped up and like yelling into the crowd and everything. So it wasn't even like a Caitlin Clark got the call thing. It was legitimately a foul. And if you're going to say, oh, maybe they're pulling for Iowa, I don't know, man, don't foul. You got to be more conscientious. If the refs were indeed in favor of the narrative and having Iowa win that game, unfortunately, UConn still committed that foul. That's still a foul. It doesn't matter. You have to mind your P's and Q's, like Damian Lillard last
night. Right, exactly.
Don't go up for a rebound, Dame, because they're clearly going to give fouls because Ashley Moyer, whatever her last name, her hyphenated last name is, she's a dumbass. And she's going to call those fouls against you. And there's nothing Bill Kennedy can say. It was I don't know. It was a good call last night. I'm sorry if people were rooting against Caitlin Clark and if they were rooting for UConn. That chick shouldn't have fouled. That's all it was.
Yeah,
It was an
exactly. It was definitely a foul. Like the referee did his job in calling what was a foul like that. And that's all there is to it.
And speaking of great officiating,
Uh-huh.
the Brewers last night walking off with the bases loaded. William Contreras just not biting on that strike. That was not a strike. It was out of the zone. And you know what? Sometimes the umpires, they'll call that a strike. Angel Hernandez, he was in a scrap yesterday with Jeff McNeil, actually. Jeff McNeil got into a screaming match with Angel Hernandez.
I was listening to Bart Winkler on CBS Sports Radio last night.
Heard of
friend
him.
of the show, and he just went off on a tangent about Angel Hernandez and just how is this dude employed. And I was so proud of my boy. I was just sitting in my car clapping, just applauding for my boy Bart Winkler, because he really is, and this is what Bart said. I'm giving him credit. I'm not plagiarizing. I'm just giving him credit. He's a perfect example of how Rob Manfred just doesn't care about baseball. That you would let this dude continue to be just a wart on the ass of the sport of baseball, and day in, day out, try to make himself the show and the star of the game is an embarrassment. And the fact Rob Manfred lets him run out there is 100%, along with the Fanatics jerseys. Did you see the latest thing? We're all over the place today, but did you see the latest thing with the
didn't make it because Fanatics?
Yeah, a bunch of teams. The Brewers were just one of them. They're waiting on their shipment for their city edition jerseys from Nike and Fanatics. Like, how they can't get baseballs right, they can't get uniforms right, they can't get umpires right. Like, we're talking about the basics, man. We're not even talking about the hijacking of a baseball club from Oakland to go play in a minor league park in Sacramento for 2 years. That's way, way, way bigger than Rob Manfred. We're just talking about the fucking basics of running a league that he can't get right.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's crazy. It's really fucking crazy to me.
You can see through their pants.
We're all gonna like me and Gary. We're gonna get our Giannis jerseys before the players get their clothes. That's crazy. That's absolutely.
Oh, is today the Giannis jersey giveaway?
That's why we're going. Yeah,
dude. Oh, I might go just to get a jersey.
Well, Gary got a couple extra tickets. We'll see if we can snag you one.
Snag me a jersey, please.
You're gonna end up paying for it though, because Gary's.
I will. I'll pay for it. No, I will buy one of those tickets. I can't go to the game because I got to go to work. So tell them I'll buy one of those tickets just for the Giannis jersey giveaway.
Let's do a lightning round on the Brewers right now, and then I got to go because I got to meet up.
Yeah, let's go. Go. What do you got? Random thoughts on the Brewers. Go ahead, Drew. I haven't watched the last two games. I've been working. Go ahead.
Okay, 5-1. They look great. Willie Adames, I've famously bashed him so far on 40 of these 41 episodes.
Yes.
Willie Adames, I have been, so I can be positive about our shortstop, and I'm not going to be a hater. I have been betting the overs on him on underdog. So, and last night he made me some money because he hit a home run. It was a spicy bet that he got an RBI. I was like, you know what? I'll take a 1 RBI bet, and he hit a home run. So, hey, way to go, Willie. Like that, he got on the board. Willie is actually making more contact this year. He's not striking out as much. So, small sample size. I really like that. I still would probably prefer Rhys Hoskins to bat in the 4-hole over Willie.
Agreed.
But
I don't care about lineups, but I agree with you.
But so far, Willie has paid off being in the 4-hole. So I will say that I was wrong. Christian Yelich still looks like he is back. Jackson Chourio last night was the first night he failed to get on base in his first 5 games or 6 games. So that's really encouraging that our rookie that I hope puts together a Rookie of the Year campaign. He looks great. The bullpen, fantastic so far, outside of the Twins game that got away from them. But you know what? That's going to happen with a fairly young bullpen once in a while. They all throw 1,000,000 miles an hour and their arms will get tired from time to time. So I'm good with that. I think Colin Ray is pitching today.
I'm not sure. I don't have that in front of me. But one thing I will say, Drew, like I said, I've seen bits and pieces of the last two games. I've been able to sit down and watch 9 innings. One thing I've seen in the first 6 games of this season that I think will be a trend for the whole season is this is a team that finds ways to win. They've needed to score 7 runs a couple times to win. They've scored 3 or 2 runs a couple times to win. And I think that they have that type of makeup. And I that's why I said before the season started, this is a team that I think will be in the race for the division. And in baseball, you get in the playoffs, man, and crazy things happen. So I think this is going to be a really fun season. And I know you don't want to hear this. I've been watching my Cubs. They also are that type of team. And what I like about both teams is they got speed on the bases. They got good defense. Like it's a fun brand of baseball to watch. And if that's the race for the NL Central between those two teams, I think it's going to be a really fun race and some really fun games to watch, some really fun series to watch between those two teams.
I hope that the Brewers keep their foot on the pedal and keep playing at this level, and that the team that we got to beat is the Cubs, and it'll be a fun closing weekend of baseball. I hope that they don't do what the goddamn Bucks have decided to do and
The
just
Bucks
get
will be
our
fine.
So, all right, that's pretty much all I got. I gotta go.
The Bucks will be fine. Go enjoy the Brewers game. Get me a jersey, and I will forgive you for not inviting me.
All right. Well, that's actually
All
Gary. Last minute for me. All right.
Episode 41 of Ramie and Drew. We'll talk to you next time.